of owning a cafe and other heroic deeds by Beware the Tristero, Chapter 130, The Trial, Part 5.
You're an incredibly well-connected man, are you not, Aizawa-san?
Ensuring that his face was continually impassive, Shouta nodded.
I run what has become a popular eatery, and thanks to that and my self-defense classes, I'm in contact with a wide range of people from all walks of life. Yes.
He replied demurely, his shoulders offering a shrug.
Oh, so you admit to having connections with all manner of people?
Yes.
He reaffirmed, his eyes narrowing a touch as she preened.
Do some of those people work for the police force?
Yes, they do.
He agreed, whilst Kubo-san sent a shrewd look their opponent's way.
And many of them are pro-heroes, is that not so?
Yes, they are.
He said, his mind trying to figure out what her strategy was.
And how many villains would you say you know and work with?
Objection, Your Honor! Not only isn't this relevant, but the defense is trying to make the witness perjure himself.
Tojinori's preferred representative called as they stood. His attention, though, was directed behind Endeavor, where he could see the sidekicks animatedly whispering whilst a few pointed at him. Oh?
It's relevant because my client has been given information which not only dismantles Aizawa-san's facade of a law-abiding citizen, but also reveals his true character.
The shark woman declared, her body approaching him rapidly.
Because you are a member of All for One's criminal syndicate, aren't you, Aizawa? If that's even your real name.
Wow. Objection! Slander! That's unfounded, baseless slander and defamation of character, Your Honor. Aizawa-san is not on trial here.
Well, maybe he should be. Really?
Order!
Blinking at her confusedly, whilst Date-sama slammed his gavel down, Shouta slanted a look at Mirai and Atsuhiro before letting out a sigh.
Order!
The judge called amidst the calamitous chattering echoing around the room.
We will have order, or I'll start placing people in contempt,
he furthered as the Endeavor office staff forced themselves to settle.
Good. Now, he breathed, since it is the defense's belief that Aizawa-san is part of a scheme created to damage Endeavor's previously unblemished record as the number 2 hero, then in this instance, I will allow him to answer. However, he continued, Aizawa-san, it's your choice as to whether you'd like to answer anything pertaining to the classified case which has been brought to my attention concerning the villain known as All for One, all right? I understand, Your Honor,
he acknowledged with a polite bow of his head.
No, I am not, nor have I ever been, part of any criminal syndicate,
he told the critically assessing woman stood so close to him. Was he meant to feel intimidated?
But you visit him at Tyrus, don't you? In fact, according to the prison's logs, you've been visiting him every other month for the past year and a half, haven't you?
Yes, I have,
he told her bluntly. Sure, he could give her more, but if she wanted rope, then he'd give her plenty.
And why have you been visiting him, exactly?
Enough so she could hang herself and Endeavor out to dry.
It's part of an arrangement created and endorsed by the HPSC, the police force, and our country's prime minister,
he stated mildly.
I exchange a few hours of my time and a selection of baked goods, and in return, he provides officers with essential information pertaining to a number of other criminals,
he finished nonchalantly. When Date-sama's eye continued to be a calm, steady green, he was the only person sat of that side of the courthouse who didn't look shocked. Surprise, surprise.
I see,
the formerly officious woman tried, that Cheshire Cat's smile of hers losing his edge.
And why has that arrangement been put in place exactly? Are you, in fact, a covert operative working for the HPSC?
She pushed, and as Kubo-san made to object, he simply said,
No, I'm not.
The hurried whispering amidst the sidekicks raised to a volume where the judge had to use his gavel once again. His third eye was still very much green.
But, so let me get this straight, Queen managed, her expression incredulous. You expect me and everyone else here to believe that you're just the owner of a small business?
I don't expect anything from you,
he told her.
But that's the truth,
he furthered, his gaze slanting up to the judge in a casual display that he hoped communicated just how ridiculous he thought this little shit show of hers was.
But wait, how were you made part part of the classified case which you claimed led you to be in this strange arrangement with the villain known as One.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance? It's okay, Kubo-san. If it'll save time and help to get this matter settled sooner so I can return to my wards, then I'll answer that.
He interjected whilst looking to the man overseeing the proceedings, who nodded his allowance.
As a level 7 childminder and self-defense instructor, I have a permit to use my quirk in the public interest, and
Your quirk, Aizawa-san. What is it exactly?
The tailed woman cut in, that gleam of her eye returning.
it's called Eraser.
He answered.
And, as its clinical name suggests, it allows me to shut off a person's access to their quirk.
And who's to say that you aren't using that power right now to affect Date-sama's abilities?
Objection!
The lawyer on its side yelled, their hands slapping the desk. Same, I'm warning you, I will sue you for defamation!
Then allow the witness to put our minds at rest by showing us that he isn't using it.
She sniped before she jabbed a finger at him. Wow,
That's fine with me.
he announced.
May I, Your Honor? As long as you don't feel that you're being unduly pressured or coerced, Aizawa-san.
The elder replied, a wry smile tugging his lips.
Although I have a sneaking suspicion that such a display is unwarranted, for surely I, as the user of my quirk, would know of any interference.
He mused blandly. If Same Kuina could possibly pale any further at those candidly spoken words, he'd be surprised. But still, if she wanted rope,
My quirk is an emitter type with 2 very obvious tells.
he told the room at large.
It affects anyone with a quirk. However, mutation quirks won't retract or recede. That part of a person would just become weaker.
He furthered before eyeing the woman, who seemed totally flabbergasted at his calm, cool composure.
Who would you like me to use for my demonstration?
He asked before slipping his gaze towards Todoroki Enji. Damn, he hoped his face wasn't too telling.
Your Honor, we'd like to ask that a bailiff with an emitter quirk be chosen, please.
The female lawyer called.
For the sake of impartiality, of course.
Kiro-san, Kita-san, would you mind?
Watching as a portly courtroom officer bowed and scampered away from the wall, he bowed at them before approaching him.
I can make my skin sprout crystals, should I? Please.
He told the man, who was clearly uncomfortable with having so many eyes trained on him, and after showing his arm to the jury, a plethora of multicolored crystals started to poke out from his shimmering mocha skin. It was a beautiful sight, really. However, as he ignited his own power, he regarded the bailiff as the gems receded.
As you can see, my irises and hair give away its activation, and so long as I look directly at that person anywhere on their body, I can erase their quirk's effects until I blink.
He explained, his tone bored as he closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Kito looked quite relieved as the glimmering masses of minerals returned.
Does that meet your needs, Sabe-san?
He asked as the woman narrowed a glare at him.
And I suppose that you can't use your quirk without your hair and eyes giving you away?
That's right.
He nodded, a small smile tilting his lips.
So just to be clear,
He furthered, since neither she nor Kubo-san had moved to stop him.
I am not, nor have I ever been, a covert agent working with the HPSC, and I am not, nor have I ever been an accomplice to any villain or criminal organization.
He continued, but no one stopped him.
I'm just a man who loves the family and community in my care.
He stated firmly before looking directly at Endeavor, his teeth gritting.
And my oldest ward is your biological son. Although I wish to God he wasn't, because you don't deserve... Thank you, Aizawa-san.
Date interrupted, his voice clipped but not unkind, as Enji balked and the sidekicks sputtered to life once more, the bailiffs already shushing them.
Same-san, Kubo-san, do you have any further questions?
He asked.
No, thank you, Your Honor. I believe that Aizawa-san has done a better job than I could in summing up things here.
Your Honor, we have no further questions, but we would like to speak with you and the prosecution in your chambers, if we may.
Opening his arms to Ray as she ran to him, showed aside and returned to the embrace she'd placed on him. Oh God, I am so sorry that Angie could ever think that you were... She breathed into his neck as she tried to hold back her sobs.
It's certainly ironic,
Madai mused, a firm hand gripping his right shoulder, whilst the brunette pro wrapped his arms around himself and the woman he held, the pair of them juggling.
So, do we have any idea what's going on in the judge's chambers?
he asked when Ray released him with a sniffle, her delicate hands gratefully taking the ornate handkerchief Atsuhiro magicked up for her.
I have a feeling they're either going to try and block Dabikun being a witness or attempt to make a plea deal,
the future seer murmured before nodding back the way they'd come.
I'm going to speak with the film crew to ensure the correct censorship of you, and what you've said today is in place. I'll text you if I hear anything.
He promised.
I think you've more than earned yourself a drink and a chance to call Toshi, the kids, and everyone else, don't you?
He chuckled, those enchanting eyes glimmering as he gave his shoulder one more firm, affectionate squeeze. How could he argue with that? After a half hour filled with the three of them laughing, talking, and assuring the local pros, the tots, and teens, they finally had news. Same-san had tried for the plea bargain. Kubo-san and his team had upped the years they were willing to see Endeavor incarcerated for. Enji's team hadn't been satisfied and had then insisted on the trial without Dabi's testimony, because Dabi couldn't be Toya, because Shouta simply believing that was the truth wasn't good enough. The judge, however, had felt very differently, and so here they were. He was now sat in the gallery with Rei and Natsuhiro on his right, and Tomura with Mirai on the left. His oldest ward was sat in the witness box.